This is Chris and Cassie once again with Sunday Chronicles, episode 41. We're calling this one Carving Your Own Path Amongst the Chaos. So we're going to talk about a few different topics as we put in the header there. Time, with the thought of time being an illusion. When you hear someone say, okay, so talking about many things tonight, but one of the main topics with the thought of time being an illusion, when you hear the phrase, someone is ahead of their time, you know, famous people from history, things like that, what that actually means. So we can start there, kind of examining that thought. So that's something Chris came up with, so I'll let him kind of lead off with it.
Yeah, it came to me today, right as I was just laying down to relax, and you hear that phrase all the time, ahead of their time, ahead of their time. What does it mean? And so what I was trying to put together was, why are people ahead of their time? There are two reasons people are remembered in history, and it's because they've either, I'll use Nirvana for an example. They chopped the head off of glam bands, completely changed the sound of music in that rock style. Early hip hop. I'm just using entertainment as an example because everybody's aware of it. Changing the game. And we've done an episode on
Tesla, ahead of his time.
Tesla. Yeah, or
anyone.
Yeah.
Prince, David Bowie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
And
what
just basic
thoughts?
game changers, and then the opposite of that, people that are remembered are people who committed deplorable acts of selfishness. Adolf Hitler was a completely selfish act to serve his own self-serving. Will be remembered forever. Game changers.
Yeah,
selfless, and so those are the two aspects of the whole game changer game. And the power of creation. I wanted to touch on the power of creation. We talk about this all the time. This topic, ahead of their time, proves we were given the power of creation through thought and then put that thought into actions. I want to touch on being misunderstood. People hate what they don't understand. We always talk about that. Those game changers in the beginning are always misunderstood because they're different. Let's talk about entertainment because everybody's aware of the same thing. But there are game changers, authors, all in all art form. We've said the other day, as art is anything that evokes emotion. So in all of the arts, game changers are given the power of creation. They're creating something that isn't in existence out of nothing. And I think that should be applauded. And I think that when you have someone, and this is another way to kind of tell the difference, the selfish, deplorable act, the more negative side of game changer, is completely disconnected from the self and the source. If you notice, all the game changers that are creating these new innovative ways to better the human condition are completely in touch with the source.
And I kind of like to think of ahead of their time as, well, if everything's happening exactly as it should be, they're not really ahead of their time, they're right on time, right? I just think that's something also interesting to think about. Is the baby up?
I think so. But nonetheless, time as an illusion. I'm going to touch on that real quick. Time cannot be sensed, meaning you can't feel it, touch it, taste it. It was time was created to, in my personal opinion, to put structure in a day. I'll wait for Cassie to get back so we can talk about some of the things that you can do with time. But I got into time real quick.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello, I'm back. Try not to sit on our dog here. Roxanne. Oh, sorry, sweetie. Such an event. Okay. Alright, so go ahead, Chris. Sorry about that.
So back to time.
Did you keep an ear out for the baby?
Yeah, I can see him. Some of the things you can do with time. That song, time keeps on slipping into the future. That song came up earlier. You can borrow time, you can waste time, you can...
But you're not really doing any of those things if it's an illusion.
Right. So, from the standpoint of time being an illusion, what were we talking about again? What was the main topic? Ahead of their time.
Yeah. You wanted to relate it to both time.
So what I wanted to say is, so if they're ahead of their time, it goes along with what you were saying. Time being an illusion.
Everyone just is. They're just here.
Well, I'm saying it's all right now, and the only reason that their gift or purpose that they're trying to bring anew to the human condition doesn't exist is because it doesn't have people that understand it.
Yeah, it's understood later, and that's why at the time they'd go back and say, well, they were ahead of their time because back then they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Well,
and it is so it's
an
not
interesting thing to think
it's
about.
not necessarily ahead of their time. They're just they're being innovative.
They're right on time.
They're right on time.
Always.
And
everything really does happen right on time.
Yeah.
Always.
And it's right at the perfect time that everything is happening. And I don't know.
And being able to, I think, have that feeling that things are happening right on time, you have to be in the moment and understand that the only moment is now.
Is right now. And it's always about purpose. You know, the people that are deemed ahead of their time are on that purpose. They know why they're here. They know they have a gift that was given to them, and it's one of those things they're not going to waste, and they're going to go after at all costs. And it's always tough in the beginning, and then as those are the people that you will always remember. And
I think there's a line drawn there. Either you're an imitator or you're an innovator.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that people are praised for imitation. I mean, these days...
Well, yeah, it's one conformity and all that.
Yeah.
You get praised and...
People are praised for being imitators.
But slowly I'm starting to... I think it's...
Yeah, it's flipping.
Yeah.
It'll flip along with everything else, but... there are, you're either attached to the material world and trying to be another Justin Bieber, or you're a Pantera. You want to talk about changing the rock game. What I'm saying is that is imitation and innovation. The innovators they get shit on. The imitators get praised.
And then time passes. It seems like 7 years for some. Other ones is lifetimes.
Yeah.
Until they're already gone. That they were ahead of their time.
And they always say that about like painters. I can't remember who it was. It was a famous painter. That the ones you go see in museums never sold a painting in real life.
Yeah.
And
it's years after.
yeah, and
which I wonder what that is. Why it's like people.
Is it pride?
Is it playing? It's like playing catch up almost. It's this. I wonder what the delay really is.
I think the delay is a lack of consciousness.
Yeah, and awareness, and
Yeah.
because when you feel, I want to say
you don't understand it.
You don't logically understand it because you're in your head. You can't feel it because you're not in your heart yet.
That's
So that's what that is. I think.
Some of the things I have listed here. I think we discussed this, but why are certain people deemed ahead of their time? What are some of the qualities?
Well, we already said innovator, but innovator, they come up with something new, something selfless, usually to help.
Yeah.
Others could be, but also we've already said.
David Bowie's a great example. I saw something the other day on him, and he reinvented himself constantly. Now, his fan base didn't like that. Were you aware of that? Because they'd show, he said, I'll have, he did his, from Ziggy Stardust to whatever, and he'd have people show up to the show as Ziggy, and he'd already be a new character. And he goes, it made some of them angry, and then, he goes, but I didn't care. David was constantly reinventing himself, and, with a beautiful message and everything that he was doing. And, Prince was another one. But these are just people that everyone knows. So
they're not imitators.
Yeah.
They're
so we discussed
individuals. The
opposite of that would be someone trying to be like somebody else. So, Eminem is the, in my personal opinion, in the hip hop game, the best rapper in the game. And that song, Slim Shady, I'm the Slim Shady, the other suckers are just imitating. When he did that and he dressed everybody up in the white t-shirt and the blue jeans and dyed everybody's, remember when he had all those people at the MTV? That's what he was saying. All those other suckers are just imitating. And he, M is by far, he's so connected. His flows, he's supposed to be Eminem, and he knew that. And that's just an example of a bad motherfucker following an innovator when
they
he
follow their heart.
Yeah, completely follow his heart.
And I think it's usually we see creatives. It's something creative. That's how people are remembered.
Yeah.
Yes, people are remembered for doing bad things. We talked about Hitler, other dictators, things, all these other...
one of a kind.
But it's...
Yeah, it comes to mind.
And even people who do these bad things are one of a kind. There's no one like them because they fulfilled the selfish route.
That's the only difference.
But you don't say people who have hurt humanity, you don't say they're ahead of their time. That phrase, ahead of their time, is usually going with people who have helped human...
No, I was just saying the opposite of that.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's just interesting to look at the two.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
What else do we say that we're going to talk about? Are you touching everything?
No, I want to talk about creation, the power of creation. Yeah. And with these, in the beginning of an innovator's something out of nothing that they're creating, they're connected to some sort of higher source, higher self.
About this, the higher self,
which is your true self. This is our vehicle that we get to express ourselves here, but our actual, so in some form or fashion they've met their higher
souls, our spirit,
you were a spirit with or soul with a body, and they recognize that. All of the innovators that you're going to, and that's where the individuality comes from. That's where not giving a fuck what anybody else thinks comes from. And
the more it all goes back again.
Real is rare.
Yeah, it goes back into looking at yourself, and because I feel like when you turn inward, the confidence is there. You realize how
it's that
beautiful
universal
individuality is. But we're all different, but we're all part of the one. And it's that whole,
it's a consciousness thing.
Being who you are is the way of life that you feel so drawn to that. I think.
You
in my
just,
experience.
you just stop caring. You
Yeah.
stop caring what everyone else thinks.
There's no point to care. It's
And you're
like,
contributing something beautiful to humanity, in my personal opinion.
And actually, a lot of the people who are ahead of their time, like I think we said this, but they're hated, or
Yeah.
they're feared, or whatever it may be in the majority.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
You know, I was thinking about this. Yeah, we talked
Anything
about
that disrupts this matrix. You know, they're
about fame.
Yeah.
The other day, and that goes along with this. You know, if you're gonna impact the world, some fame is gonna come along with it. The selfish side, that's all they're seeking is fame. We talked about this.
Oh
People
yeah, the
want to
ones
be
who are always in the spotlight in the tabloids. The tabloids
Yeah.
versus the
Sure.
ones that are quieter. Yeah.
And the innovators
Are behind the scenes.
are
kind
behind the scenes.
of. They go out and do things, but you don't see it in the tabloids. That's what.
It's that's and
Yeah.
it's the material and what is that saying? A man that can stand solitude is either a god or a beast.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept, but what are some of the things that we can do with time? What did we discuss?
Well, even though I think time is given all sorts of parameters that it's either or time slipping away. Time can slip away.
You can waste
time
it.
Can be saved. You can
save time.
Can you?
You can make time. Can you make time go away? I mean, think about all the things you say about time.
Well, think about living right in the moment. There is no such thing as time.
So being
right?
in the eternal now, there is no such thing at that point in time.
You see time as part of the system. I feel that it's part of the system that has been put in place to get people to work this 9 to 5, this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this illusion, and there's been parameters put up to control and set limitations and things like that. That's kind of how I feel about it. But
I wrote one of my songs says, "Don't wear a watch, there is no time. Be king for 2 days."
Didn't you want to talk something about a king quote that you have?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for.
Where is that?
I don't know, but you came up. You said something today, so
it's
you
on
wrote
this
it
side.
down.
Yeah. So I don't know why this came to me again. Meditation, and it said, this whole thing came out to me, and it said, a king who has appointed a magician to his court isn't aware of his own magic. And you see that in, movies depict these things. You see that king, the selfish king, and he always has that evil fucking wizard sorcerer.
Yeah, and even Alice in Wonderland, the off with her head has that guy.
The queen has the guy.
Yeah.
They always have this court appointed, and the true innovator kings ruled from intuition.
Yeah.
And they didn't need that. And you notice when those kings that have that appointed magician sorcerer always were in some sort of trouble. And always at the end, off with their head. It's just, I don't know how that came to me, but I thought it was a good observation. So it is a king that...
I think in different ways, if you ponder it, you could put it to current life situations, and it's just something interesting.
Current life situations would be attaching yourself to an external label to boost your ego. That's what that is.
It's going away from your intuition. It's fake.
Because you care about whatever one. You want that title, that whatever. You're seeking selfishly.
I like that.
Versus working and being a king and ruling your kingdom through your own intuition and following your purpose and going out and innovating and creating a better world for humanity in some way or some form. Your purpose is going to involve humanity in a way, whether you're helping them get happy by singing them a song. And this is another thing. Whatever you're doing, I tell myself this all the time. These are my songs. This is part of my gift to humanity, and it'll make sense later, but write your song and fucking let it go. Dr. Dre says, my songs are not allowed to be played in my house. He goes, I listen to it once after we make it, and that's it, and it's my gift, and you give it away, and you're only as good as your next song. A lot of people are complacent. A lot of people on that selfish route get so complacent. They make a couple $1 million. They go.
That's why it's gone so quick.
They go buy $1 million home and a $500,000 Lamborghini, and end up. Yeah, he's good. Okay. But anyways,
I think we talked about living in the moment, right? That.
Yeah.
Kind of touched on that.
That was when time was an illusion, and the reason we're even talking about time is because of the quote, ahead of their time. They're right on time.
Everything's
it's just
happening
the
as it
world
should
isn't
be.
ready for them, and so
I think those innovators, those people, in a way, because of bringing new ideas to the masses, they're evolving, helping everyone evolve and raise their consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's placed,
whether you understand it or not, some sort of seed is planted.
Yeah, I feel like if you step back, you can kind of see that people are placed at very pivotal time. Has become what we call pivotal times, and in history in these places, because they had the consciousness of humanity had to raise at that time.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're seeing more conscious business. I think right now you're seeing
so many innovators,
of people coming out with new things, because there's a lot of opposing forces, you could say, happening right now.
It goes back to, don't fight the existing system, create a new system that makes that system obsolete. And that is what is occurring. That's kind of where I wanted this talk to end up, in that the shift is here. A lot of us are feeling it with these energies coming through over this last week. This has been unbelievable. And
no words to describe it.
Yeah.
Nothing I've ever experienced, to say the least.
And it is so precise with what's happening with the world, And I'm at a point now to where this material world that is crumbling, I'm patting it on the head, Bless your heart. I wish you the best, but it has gotten to a point to where it is your word is bizarre.
So bizarre.
And so
this world is
it's
so
going to be,
bizarre.
And I feel for those that are going to crumble with it, but there's, I can't be attached to it.
Yeah.
I can't. And then this goes back into carving your own path amongst the chaos.
Yes, our title of this whole talk.
And
touch on that a little more.
So it's like we always say,
it's maintaining individuality.
It's maintaining your purpose. It's knowing your purpose.
Knowing your purpose first.
And following the good and bad that come with it, and understanding why the bad is there, making it go away, continuing to push forward. We say this all the time. You must fail. You must. And that failure is going to help you learn something, and then you move forward, and you must fail. And then one day, it's not necessarily that you make it, but you make it. Mm-hmm. And that gives you creative freedom, the money that goes along with it, to continue to build and leave that message, or that gift that helped humanity elevate in some form of consciousness way.
But that's part of that path, that carving your way amongst the chaos, because you're going to be constantly trying to be dragged back to attachments to the material.
Yeah.
For example, so many
People.
other things, and you have to have all these experiences in order to separate yourself and be a true innovator, I think.
Yep.
And so it's fighting that way through that chaos and not being attached to it, and maintaining your purpose and your drive and reason to be here, and helping everyone, and all those things.
So in a nutshell, that's it. There's a lot of topics there, and I'm sure we'll touch on them again.
And we'll probably touch on them, and saw some comments, so we'll go through those.
And other than that, happy Sunday, and thank you.
Thank you for the comments, and thank you for watching, and have a good night.
Good evening.